Okay, so I want to talk about adding a backglow into your pictures. You have to be careful with this because it's really easy for it to look really cheesy and fake. The best way to get that beautiful light behind you is to actually take your picture in front of a light. So here it's outdoors. I'm literally standing in front of the sun and taking a picture in front of that light. Sometimes, as a photographer, you have to kneel on the ground or you have to find a different angle to get the subject backlit without glaring into the sun too much with your lens. The other thing to consider is, it can be other sources of illumination. It can be things like studio lighting. Say that I haven't done that and I have a picture like this one on the end that it's okay. But it needs some help here. I want to go ahead and I'm just going to play around with adding a backlight to really set off some of this lighting back here. So the very first thing I want to do for this project is I want to create a new layer. And I'm going to go under this hamburger bar, hit duplicate layer, and then I'm going to rename it. When I have a project that has maybe 100 layers on it, it's going to be important for me to name it. But right now, doesn't matter too much. So I'll maybe rename it layer 1, hit enter, hit OK. Now I have that layer. Like layer 1. And if I remove or hide my two bottom layers, the very next thing I want to do on that layer, so I'm making sure it's selected by clicking on there, is I want to take my quick selection tool and I actually want to cut out my figure. So I want to make sure I have to pay attention to this, that this is plus, this is selected up at the top. And I'm going to start actually dragging this brush along. And what it's doing is that because my plus sign is selected, it's actually adding pixels to my selection. And you can see, and I'm doing this really quickly, there is no quick and easy way to do this, you guys. I'm able to do this because I've done this. I've spent a lot of time doing this in my life. But take it slow. You don't want to rush through this. I'm going to tell you that it's difficult to do hair. I'm not going to try and get every single strand. It's not going to happen right now. But I want to try and get as many as I can. Areas of low contrast, the brush sometimes has a hard time picking things up. So go slowly. If I have something that, say, is sticking out too much, I want to try and smooth that layer out. I'm going to hit the negative button up here, so to the right, and it's actually going to take away from that outline. So you can kind of see there's that dotted line, and I'm going through and I'm deselecting. And if I go too far, I just go edit, undo, and it undoes that previous step. If I'm having issues, one of the things I'll do, and I'll try and just blast through this really quickly, is I'm just looking for areas that stick out weirdly. I'll make the brush smaller. So say like here where the background is blending into my hair. I'm going to decrease the size of it so that little dot here, I can decrease or increase the size of my pixels. I'm going to make it smaller and I'm going to click that plus button because I want to add to my selection. And now I've added it, but now I have to click subtract again because it added too much. So, it's a lot of back and forth. This is tedious work. I'm not going to lie to you. But now I finally got that. That's pretty decent. And you can see again, everything that's been selected. Now this hair we need to get this under control. Remember, I have to select a positive or else I'll start taking things away again. But now I can see that dashed line, everything in it is selected. What I'm going to do after I'm happy with that, and you want to take your time doing this because it's really easy to rush through this and then you end up with this really awkward, jagged looking image at the end. I'm going to go to edit. Once I'm happy with my selection, copy, and then edit, paste. And you'll see now I have a new layer. If I want to rename it, I double click on it and I'll say like figure. If I remove or hide my two bottom layers, I can see that I've cut myself out of that background. So what I'm going to do now, and the reason I didn't do this on the background is because I mess up, it's a lot easier to go back and fix it if you're not working on the original layer. Now I've cut this out. I want to make sure that figure 1 layer is selected. I'm going to go under this FX button and I'm going to click outer glow. From here, there's a few things, and you can see where, you know, I can see the outline of my hair here. That's something I would go in and I would spend some more time with it. The biggest things that you want to make sure that are happening here, again, you can play around with these. That's a nice one, actually. Overlay is kind of nice because it softened up that glow. It doesn't feel quite so fake. Screen was where I had that originally. Opacity, I want to crank it up to 100%. Again, if you, and you know, again, see what looks right. But if I want it to be a really strong light, it'll go all the way up to 100. If I want it to be less, like that 65% is kind of nice, I'll go through and I'll do that. This default is going to be white, and that's fine. You can leave it white. I just wanted mine to be a little bit warmer, so you can go through and you can add different colored glows to it. You know, again, for this, this particular image, we don't want to go too crazy here. And you hit OK. Technique should say softer, and size is going to tell me again, size is going to refer to my pixels, and then the spread is what percent. So you can see, again, I might keep it a little bit softer because I don't like when I crank this one up all the way, you can really start to see that difference that happens with the hair. But anyways, you get the idea. So there are other different ways to blend this as well. I mean, you can look into this. You can see, depending on what mode you're in, it's going to change it. But for this purpose and soft light, you know, again, it does what it says. Vivid light, it's really vivid. So that's why you can see how you want to spend more time on this, cutting it out than I have, because you're going to see those edges when you go to cut it. So we'll go back to screen. We'll leave it alone. It's still fairly soft, and we're going to hit OK. So now I have this outer glow. If I remove this layer, I can see what it looks like before. So, boom. It makes a big difference in terms of bringing out a subject forward. Just be aware of the lighting that's in your picture when you're using this effect. You don't want to go over the top and have 5 different light sources happening. Now, if I ever want to make changes to this, I double click on outer glow. This menu pops up and I can change things. So just also be aware of that. When I do that though, it hides my layer. So I have to click on my eye again to make it visible.